All right. I am proud to once again welcome in and into the air studio today guest DJ Tinsley Ellis. Welcome, Tinsley.
Hey, Joe. It's great to be back here in Spindale.
Yeah, appreciate you coming. You got a show at the Gray Eagle tonight. That was one of the things that facilitated you being here, right?
I never like to miss an opportunity to stop by the station on the way.
Well, we're always happy when you do. Fond memories. Was a year or so ago you were here in Studio B, and just a great session.
That was a great session, and so honored to be included on that album that you put out.
Crowd Around the Mic.
Crowd Around the Mic.
Yeah, that's and that's something that you artists like you. Having a song on there is it's a way of supporting this radio station because we use Crowd Around the Mic as a fundraising tool. And so all these wonderful Studio B sessions like yours make for a great collection. And we appreciate your support in multiple ways of the radio station.
Well, it's a great sound in studio. It's also a great way for us to get the music out there, too.
Yeah, that's right. And working with Sean Rubin is pretty much cake. I mean, he's a pro and takes care of everything. So we always try to give him credit as well. But the music that comes out of there, we're blessed to have that for Crowd Around the Mic. And the listeners really, really respond to it. So what is new with Tinsley Ellis here lately? I know we've got your new album. We've been playing that.
I appreciate that. The name of the album is Naked Truth. And
yes.
Real excited about that. It's my first all-acoustic album and allowing me to play places like the Gray Eagle all over America. And since I was here last, I've been all over America.
Well,
the whole country.
And Asheville tonight, some more in this region, or are you headed way off somewhere?
No, this is on the way up north. My next show after this is on a Friday night up in Cortland, New York, and then up to Boston and all around the Northeast, which will be my second time in the Northeast this year.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy. And you are my guest DJ today, so we're going to play some songs that you want to play. And I've got one of them ready. Tell us about it. Tell us why you picked this artist and song.
Well, this is a great sort of a lost soul album done by a guy named O.V. Wright. He went to Memphis, and this is his Memphis Unlimited album. And on this album, he used a lot of the same musicians and production team by Al Greene. As you listen to this song, I believe I've been searching. It sounds like an Al Greene song with the different guys singing on it.
Ah, isn't that weird? I pulled out some Al Greene to play in my show today.
It gets no better. Sweet soul music.
Or as I always say, the Reverend Al Greene.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do it. O.V. Wright. And I've been searching here. Tinsley Ellis with me here in our Air Studio, Studio A, whatever you want to call it, on WNCW. We've got an extended spoonful of blues today. Hey, it's WNCW, Freddie King and Going Down. And O.V. Wright, I've been searching in there. Selections from our guest host today, Tinsley Ellis. Man, it's so great to have you here.
Great to be here. Great to be able to take over your turntable of sorts.
Yeah, turntables. Yeah. We were talking about radio and old school radio off the air there, and some of the stations that used to, the commercial stations that used to be more welcoming to some of the blues and rock and roll stuff, and be a little wider in their orbit of play, and not stuck down to 100 records or something that they play over and over again.
Well, that's why they call it classic rock now, because
that's right.
That's music that I consider to be classic, starting with the Beatles and going through probably Nirvana or something.
Oh, yeah. And we were talking about, where are the rock and roll bands today? And you mentioned a couple. You mentioned Greta Van Fleet and Blackberry Smoke, and there's
Government Mule.
Government Mule, yeah. There's some others out there, and there is a ton of tribute bands out there now that they're rocking, but they're rocking the music of a band that was or maybe still around. And
that's a whole new phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's really popular, and in fact, I think it was maybe a venue up north hired Skid Row because they couldn't afford the Skid Row tribute band. That's how popular some of these tribute bands are.
Wow, man!
I'm not sure it's Skid Row, but it's somebody like that.
Yeah.
That you would think. And the tribute band was more popular than the band itself. So there you go.
Oh, wow. it is a topsy-turvy world, isn't it? But
Sure.
but we were talking about WNCW. But we're kind of a different animal. We don't tamp down the playlist. We keep a wide playlist, and we like to play a mix that includes blues. And we're happy that blues artists like you are still producing the music for us to play. Of course, we already have a great body of music going back years. But when we get something new from you or from Bobby Rush or somebody like that, it's like, and I'm not saying you're quite a bit younger than Bobby Rush, but we're happy to have that, and we're happy to hear, what you are doing these days.
Oh, yeah. And I like all kinds of music, as evidenced by some of these things I brought in here today to play.
Yeah.
I actually brought a Bert Jantz song in here. And Bert Jantz is a Scottish folk singer.
Yeah.
So I think that surprised Alligator Records when I told them I was going to want to play that. But if a song has got soul, it's got soul. It doesn't matter what kind of music it is.
Yeah, I mean, I find soul in a lot of bluegrass records. I mean, it's and there are more and more singers in bluegrass that are taking on that soul style of singing. But I mean, even if you go back, Ralph Stanley used to do that.
Oh yeah, and Doc Watson, he was like a blues artist. He had so much soul.
I think Doc loved the blues,
and I really miss him too. I was telling you off air about all the times I was able to sit at the feet of people like that. Not just watching, being in the audience for Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters, but also being in the audience for Doc Watson and Earl Scruggs.
You know what? You mentioned Doc, and I think I'm right on this. Today is the 12th anniversary of his passing. Today, and you may have already known that, and I was thinking it was, but I wanted to look and make sure.
I've been thinking a lot about him lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Merle and Richard, off the air too, and. So I think Doc had, pretty good bit of grief in his life, and yet he still let the music motivate him, and he helped and nurtured a whole lot of younger artists that came along. Mm-hmm. Of course, they were all enamored by him, right?
Oh, we were. We really were.
The videos of him playing with guys like Michael Cleveland when they're kids, and being impressed by them, and helping to nurture them. I thought, anyway, I'm going to make myself cry talking about Doc here like that.
Yep. This is sort of ground zero for that kind of music, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just sort of like being down in New Orleans, that's kind of ground zero for New Orleans music.
Mm-hmm. And we love that here, too.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Our share. Me too. Well, tell me, we played Freddie King's Going Down There. Tell me a little bit about why you chose that song.
Well, that song was done by a Memphis band called Moloch, I think they're called, and I never really knew that. I started reading up on it, and Leon Russell produced that album for Freddie King, and you can hear him on the acoustic piano and Chuck Blackwell on the drums, and then one of my favorite bass players, Donald Duck Dunn, and they went in there, and Leon Russell chose that song for Freddie to do. And they went in there, and Freddie King just owned that tune. It had bigger success, definitely, with people like Jeff Beck, and over the years, a big kind of a bar band favorite. But Freddie King owned that tune right there. And, of course, Leon Russell and Freddie King, that's an unstoppable duo of talent right there.
A couple of geniuses.
Yeah, a couple of great players and singers.
Never knew them personally, but my take from their legacy was they were just flat-out geniuses.
Yeah, I knew Leon Russell. I did not ever get to see my idol Freddie King, but Leon Russell is somebody I feel real kinship with musically, because he did it all. He was in the studio, and he played live. He played right up to the very end. Big places, small places,
mm-hmm.
and what a songwriter, and what a piano player.
Certainly a huge legacy in the music in many directions.
Absolutely.
You brought a guitar with you today.
Yeah, sure did.
So not only guest DJing, but you're going to play for us at some point this hour, right?
Yeah, let me warm up a little during a couple tunes here.
All right.
But is the Bert Jantz song the
I've got
one?
It right here. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bert Jantz is sort of definitely under the radar kind of guy, and he was from Scotland. Did his recordings. A lot of stuff in the 60s, and definitely a folk musician, but he influenced people like Pete Townsend and definitely Jimmy Page. And I pulled up one of my favorite Burt Jansch songs for you.
All right.
Doesn't have really a happy title, "Needle of Death," but it's one of his best songs.
All right. Says Tinsley Ellis, our guest DJ today. Thanks so much. Let's play Bert's tune for you right now, Needle of Death. It is WNCW. All right, thanks for getting out and supporting the live music. Got nice weather for it. Partly sunny today. 70s and lower 80s are forecast. Joe Greene here with Tinsley Ellis, our guest host today in the studio. It is so awesome to have you here. And you tell us about this guitar that you brought in. You were telling me about it off the air. The folks are probably interested in this.
This is a 1937 National Steel guitar. And it was made originally to play Hawaiian music on. I guess in the 1930s there was a Hawaiian music craze, and you're supposed to lay it down flat and play it with a steel bar, much like the bluegrass players did, and play kind of traditional Hawaiian music on it. And but blues musicians got a hold of them because they make a lot of racket, and people like Bucka White and one of my favorites, Son House, did a lot of his recordings on one. And I used it on my new album, and I enjoy playing it every night. And I brought it in here to the studio.
Or like I called it when I was a kid, the guitar with the hubcap on it.
It looks like it's got but I guess the idea back then, before amplified music in the 1930s, was that the resonator, looks like a pie plate in there, would send the music out and make it louder. And it is a louder instrument. I know that when I play my Martin and do the sound check, they say, well, that guitar is not as loud as the shiny one. And I think that's the idea, is that this thing would send the sound out and make it resonate. That's why they call it a resonator.
Yeah, it certainly does resonate. Yeah.
My woman left me, ran off to San Jose, left me with nothing but a stack of bills to pay. Oh, she left me. I'm telling everyone the news, that she's gone and left me with this Tallahassee blues. She took my money so I can't pay the rent. She took the baby and he was having sex. She took my whole life. I'm telling everyone that they gone and left me with this Tallahassee blues. Deep down in Florida where the sun shines every day, can't afford no ticket so I could get away. Stuck down in Florida, I'm telling everyone the news, that they gone and left me with this Tallahassee blues. sun in the mountains, mountains turn into plain. How much I miss her, I really can't explain. She's turning the mountains. I'm telling everyone to do that they gone and left me with this Tallahassee blues. That they gone and left me with this Tallahassee blues. That they gone and left me with this Tallahassee
Tinsley Ellis and Tallahassee Blues here on WNCW. Live for you here in the studio today. That was one of my favorites off the new album, Naked Truth.
Oh, good.
I'm glad you did that one. As a matter of fact, I got the CD ready to go if we want to play one off of that. But I was going to cue that song up, and then you mentioned on the air that that's a song you're going to do.
I'm a mind reader.
Yes. Released this year. I think you probably were working on this record when you were here and we talked in Studio B last time.
I sure was. I actually had gone in just before doing the Studio B session here, and I'd recorded at Eddie 9-Volt Studio in Atlanta and done a whole bunch of tracks and sent them to Alligator, and they said, well, we want more original songs. So I had to go back in, and I wrote Tallahassee Blues, and I wrote Horseshoes and Hand Grenades and Devil in the Room. And I'm glad they pushed me to do more original songs rather than just do the usuals. But, that demo, I really enjoyed it. And I went in to record one of the songs on the album in the studio, Death Letter Blues, the Sun House song. And we listened to it and we said, we think the demo's better. And so I ended up releasing on the album the demo version that Eddie 9-Volt produced of Death Letter Blues.
I haven't met Eddie yet. What's he like?
He's great. He's the future of the whole roots music thing in Atlanta, Georgia area, and he does blues, he does soul music. There's really nothing he can't do, and he's a master in the studio.
Yeah,
he's probably like 25 years old or something like that. So yeah,
right. I mean, I was in love with his Capricorn album. It's just super cool stuff.
And the first one was great too, and he's got a new one coming out, so I'm excited about that.
I think we're playing one of the lead-off songs from that here.
He's got a single out, and the whole album's great. I've heard the whole thing.
Really?
Oh, yeah, really good. But he continues to push the envelope, doing blues, mixing blues and soul and swampy kind of music as well.
Some of these younger artists, I've been impressed with, like Kingfish.
Oh, absolutely.
And John Tavius Willis.
Those are the two names that come to mind.
Yeah. And, we had Sugar Ray Rayford here in Studio B before, and you talk about somebody that lights up a room, man, when he comes in.
He's a big fella, huh?
He is a big fella, and the energy level in the room just, he doesn't even have to say anything when he walks in.
Yeah.
You just feel it.
You just know.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about this. Martin and I talked about this yesterday. We were all pretty much grieving Dickie Betts' death.
Oh, yeah.
You guys were friends, weren't you?
Yeah, I got a chance to play with Dickie both in his solo band and sat in with the Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
And Warren introduced me to Dickie in terms of, sitting in with the Allmans. And that was a big loss. And, if you think about, they didn't call it Americana music back then, but that would have fit what Dickie Betts did back in the 1970s.
Yeah.
And bringing people like Vassar Clements together and pedal steel and saxophone, having them all up there on stage, and it just sounded great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, a genius, and again, a super legacy and body of work. And, and then, the legacy has a chance to move on with the Allman Betts Band now, with the youngsters.
Yeah, and I love the new Dwayne Betts album. There's some great songs on that that remind me so much of his dad. Really feel-good music. Sound kind of like whether it's a Ramblin' Man or Long Time Gone or, Blue Sky, certainly. And Dwayne Betts is keeping that music alive. It's not really, it's not really music similar to what Greg Allman did in his solo stuff, which always leaned more towards soul music, and then Dickie leaned a little more towards that kind of Florida Vassar Clements kind of sound.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what made that band so great, with the flavors everybody brought, and that's true of a lot of bands. But we're
Sure is.
talking about the Allmans. It's certainly evident if you play through the years of their music.
Yeah, the Allmans definitely wrapped up everything I love about American music into one band, and served it on a real psychedelic platter, and I like that too.
Yeah. I'm loving the sound of this new album from you. You have a signature sound, obviously, for people that know your music. But when you go from Tinsley album to Tinsley album, there's differences in there. There's different flavors that come in there. And is that something that is conscious, or is it just happens in the creative process? What's in your head and what you want to write, what you want to play. Is it organic? I mean, just influenced by what you might be listening to, maybe?
Yeah, definitely influenced by what I listen to. And a typical songwriting session that I would do would start with me having a cup of coffee and turning the speakers on in the studio there and listening to some stuff and thinking, I think I'll write a song like that. Whether it's Leon Russell or Mike Bloomfield or B.B. King. And the new album, you mentioned that, Naked Truth, this is an album I always wanted to make. I always wanted to make an all-acoustic album. And I finally came into a place in my career where I had not really hit the wall with playing loud electric music, but just sort of wanting to do something different, and playing my Martin and my National Steel and having it come together on this album. And then big thanks to Alligator Records, who let me do it, because there's always a fear that if you change something, you're going to take a hit. But it turns out that this has been a fan favorite type album, sort of like my all instrumental album that I did in 2013.
Well, Alligator is an iconic name, particularly for blues music, and I think maybe they have gotten that way by taking that attitude about things and about the creativity and everything.
But they've got open ears, Mofro they've got, and then they, at a time where they were doing all Chicago blues, they put out a really great Professor Longhair album back in that era. So they've got open ears, which is, you can't just be one thing.
Well, let's get back and play one of your songs. Which one would you like me to do next?
Oh, off the new album, I like Death Letter Blues. This is the one that Eddie Ninevolt produced.
All right. Let me get that queued up, because I had a different song.
Well, what did you have chosen?
I had Horseshoes and Hand Grenades queued up over here.
Well, I'd like to play that one in the studio.
Live. You want to do that one live?
Yes.
All right. Oh, gosh.
Death Letter's track 3, maybe?
Yeah, track 3. Yeah, no worries. We got the modern technology here. So, all right, here we go. Tinsley Ellis, guest DJ in here today from his Naked Truth album. And this is Death Letter Blues on WNCW. It's WNCW, Tinsley Ellis there, and the 12-song disc, his new one, Naked Truth, and Death Letter Blues. And I will say, a 12-song original album. Tinsley, you wrote all this great music, didn't you?
Well, actually, that last song was a Sun House song.
Right,
I always wanted to record. And then there's a Leo Kottke song in there. He's one of my favorites.
I was going to mention that because I remember when we got this, and we got the what they call the one sheet comes with it, with the information, and I noticed that Leo was mentioned among the guys that inspired you or whatever. Of course, the ones you expect, Muddy Waters and Sun House and Robert Johnson, and Leo Kottke. And I was like, cool.
Well, this album is a mixture of, it's predominantly blues, but it's also got 3 or 4 folk music songs on there, because I got to make it be about what I listen to. Right. And I'm just as apt to listen to Leo Kottke as any blues I've ever heard. I mean, and what a great guitar player.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. And that song I put on the album is one I've been doing for many years.
Wow.
I do it live every night. All these songs, I play the whole album live when I play in concert. So if you come tonight to Grey Eagle, and I certainly hope you do, then you will hear every one of these songs live.
We talk about, excuse me, who are you listening to right now? I mean, who have you been listening to here recently?
Oh, well, these songs that I chose to play is a sort of an example of what I listened to. I was listening to a lot of New Orleans music. I was bemoaning the fact that I was not down there during Jazz Fest. So I was kind of having a Jazz Fest in the listening room. And I listened to all kinds of music. I think the common denominator is guitar, string bending guitar,
Right.
emotional guitar. And so it doesn't have to be blues, but for me, blues is my passion, but rock and roll is definitely my heritage. And so I will listen to Peter Greene's Fleetwood Mac and
Man,
yeah.
now and then as I scroll through the social media, some of these old videos will pop up of them, and I pray that they have decent sound quality. Some of them don't.
Yes.
But one of the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac videos popped up on I was sitting in my living room, in the recliner, and I was on my phone looking at it, and I had the phone turned up as loud as it would go.
Yeah, and Peter Greene had a pretty short window of prominence there, late 60s, slightly early 70s, and then he chose not to do music anymore.
But what a treasure trove when he did.
Oh, yeah, sure was. And I listened to a lot of stuff, a lot of the sessions that Dwayne Allman played on, too. Another guy with a kind of a short window of prominence, late 60s, very early 70s, and came and went, and Jimi Hendrix came and went too. And I think, I don't want to do that. I'm going to stretch my career out as long as I can. So,
yeah, well,
yeah, just an observation.
I do the Spoonful of Blues every day. I don't have nearly the experience and everything that Mike has that does Saturday Night House Party, but I do the best I can on the weekdays. And it's funny when I pull up info about these blues artists as we're doing the Spoonful. It's amazing to me how many of them had really short lives.
There was a lot of drama involved.
Yeah.
Stuff that I never did, like hopping a freight train, stuff like that, or being a sharecropper, for instance. That's an experience that I missed out on. And but the drama in the lives of some of these men is something that we can only approximate. And that's why I don't just do blues. I do folk music as well, rock and roll.
That, back in the day, to me, when I play some of the old historic blues stuff, I hear a lot of folk music in that. I mean, it seems like for me, it's kind of like a Venn diagram of, for all the music that we play here, there's a lot of overlap here and there's pieces of this music in that music and all, there's a lot of kindred in there, don't you think?
And songs that were done, not just by Delta blues musicians, but by bluegrass musicians, like Sitting on Top of the World. That's a song that's done by a lot of different people. I'm not even sure what the origin of that song is. But
Me either, but I could go through in our library and even some of the new product in our rotation right now, find that song. Somebody did it. And I could play almost a whole hour of different, if you want to call it genres, different flavors or arrangements of that same song.
But one thing that all those genres and performers have in common is they come from this part of the world. And I didn't make that rule. I just enforce it, but this is where the music came from, is down south, somewhere around this latitude, in this area of the world. And that's why the farther I go away from Georgia or Mississippi or North Carolina, the more unique I become. Because if I'm in Australia and they want to talk about the Allman Brothers and they want to talk about Muddy Waters, and I am uniquely qualified when I'm there to be from this part of the world. And I'm happy for that, at least artistically.
I've had people when I say I live in Cleveland County, North Carolina, near Shelby, and and it's not just bluegrass fans, and they'll go, "You live near where Earl Scruggs came from."
Well, when you told me that earlier, that's immediately what I thought.
I was like, man, and if it's not Earl, it's Don Gibson, and that's they're the two probably the most famous guys that ever came out of Cleveland County, North Carolina: Don Gibson, Earl Scruggs, and
well, they asked one time. They asked James Brown, a fellow Georgia musician, but they asked him what his definition of soul was. And I loved his definition. James Brown said, the definition of soul is being proud of where you came from.
Amen.
And that takes all the other components of what we think being soulful out of it. You can draw lines in the sand. You can say, this is soul, this isn't soul. But if you follow the James Brown definition of being proud of where you come from, that's a great definition.
Yeah. You gonna? Do you want to play another one
Yeah,
live?
I'm going to do this one. This is your request, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I take requests. I don't always play them, but I take them.
Well, don't.
Early in the evening, the sun goes down. Know you're out there, you counting around. I got close to having it made, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. You put our love up on a shelf when you gave your loving to someone else. Thought I was close, thought I had it made, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Round about summer and winter too, you gave your loving to someone new. Thought I was close, thought I had it made, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Ain't it the truth?
It sure is, man. That phrase was introduced to me by my father.
Yeah.
And he used it a gazillion times when I was coming up.
I heard it all my life, and a lot of people hadn't heard that.
That's Tinsley Ellis here in the air. I started saying Studio B. Here in the air studio with me on WNCW. Joe Greene here. You know, did you say you had an interview somewhere at 1 o'clock?
But I started having so much fun, I sent a message and put it back a few minutes.
Okay, all right, man. All right, I got to take care of a little business here
right.
while we're talking. It's a couple of things I got to do. Support for programming comes from Pisgah Brewing Company, Black Mountain, welcoming Pocket Strange this Thursday, May 30th. Just Brew It on Saturday, June 1st, and hosting the Pisgah Sunday Jam with Spiro and Friends on Sunday, June 2nd. Support also from Mosaic Realty in Asheville, acknowledging that individual residents create the greater community. Mosaic strives to be as unique and engaged as the people who make Western North Carolina a great place to live. Proud to be locally owned and help buyers and sellers with important decisions. MyMosaicRealty.com. We're into the 1 o'clock hour here. It's 88.7 WNCW Spindale, 90.9 WSIF Wilkesboro with service to translators in Greenville, South Carolina at 97.3 FM on W247AB, in Boone at 92.9 FM on W225 AA, and Charlotte 101.3 FM on W267BC. All right. Tinsley, we're now legal, man. That was one of those responsibilities as guest host I didn't want you to have to do.
Well, got to get serious every once in a while.
Yeah, we gotta. What back in the old days, we used to call the FCC Uncle Charlie. So you got to make Uncle Charlie happy.
Yeah. Uncle Charlie.
I think that actually came along in the big CB days. Remember the CB radios?
Oh yeah. I remember Uncle Charlie. Wasn't he in My Three Sons?
Yeah,
or something like that?
Yeah. William Demarest is Uncle Charlie.
Oh,
see, every now and then the little hard drive works.
If you had asked me, I wouldn't have known, and then I would have gone all day wondering who played Uncle Charlie.
You would call me back and I thought of it.
Well, yeah, I would have too. I'm that guy. So get some closure. Get on with our lives.
Super cool to have you here. And you were playing, again, that 1937 National Steel on that one. Does she have a name?
No, it doesn't have a name.
Because she sure got a voice.
Yeah, it's large and in charge. And that's by far the most talked about guitar that I've ever owned.
Nah.
It's all shiny metal.
How many guitars would you say you own right now?
Oh, gosh. Well, not as many as I'd like to, because I'm always one guitar away from happiness, but probably 25, 30 guitars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other stringed instruments outside of the guitar realm?
I got a bass, and Donald Duck Dunn signed the bass when he played on one of my albums. I got Duck Dunn to sign it, and he was the one of the greatest electric bass players ever. He put the bass line in all those Stax records. So.
Yeah. That's who. I mean, you think about the classic, the bass players from. I think of him. I think of Carol Kay and a couple others. But I always like to ask the guitar players because I know most of them are not going to say, "Well, I just got two or three." Nobody says that.
Right. It's a real addiction, that's for sure.
Tonight at the Gray Eagle, I meant to mention this earlier. What time does the show start?
Well, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
And they've got another show that starts at 5:30 out on the patio. Mm-hmm. A guy by the name of Scott Lowe from Clayton, Georgia area. And I'm looking forward to hearing his show as well.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. I didn't have that on the information, just your show. So that's good to know. Mm-hmm. And it's always worth your time to get to the Gray Eagle a little bit early.
Oh, it's a beautiful night to go out to.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's a great night.
I always love seeing shows at the Gray Eagle, and certainly glad you're there tonight. It doesn't look like there's maybe not a whole bunch of other shows around, so people won't have to scrutinize it all. There's, oh, God, I want to see him, and I want to see Tinsley, too, and I want to see her.
But sometimes playing a Wednesday show can be a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And other times, not.
And in the middle of the week, it's close enough to the weekend, and you're starting to yearn for it, and you're like, I'm going out tonight, treat myself, hear some live music.
Yeah. Feels good.
Well, you did pick out some other songs, and we haven't played all of them. Do you want to play one of them now?
Yeah. There's this Bob Dylan song. My favorite Bob Dylan album is Blonde on Blonde. And Joe South from Atlanta, Georgia, played a lot of the guitar on this album. And I believe this is him playing on I Want You.
Yeah, well, let's do that one. You hear me typing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dylan. Well, sure. I got it right here. WNCW. Well, there you go. It's Dylan on WNCW, courtesy of our guest DJ today. I hate to say DJ, our guest host, Tinsley Ellis. And the hour has flown by.
It really did. You put a microphone in front of me, and I lose concept of space and time.
Well, when you were here last time, we had, 35, 40 minutes in Studio B, and that flew by as well.
Oh, that was a good session. I love that.
Thanks again for making time to come be with us, and I know you're going to have an appreciative crowd there at the Gray Eagle tonight. And best of luck, continued luck, or good fortune with this album. It's a fine album, and I know as soon as folks hear some of it, they're going to be all about it.
Well,
So-
thanks for playing the good stuff here at WNCW. It's always worth driving a few miles out of the way to come over and visit.
Oh, man.
Always,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, we're not in anybody's way going anywhere, are we?
Well, maybe if I was going from, say, Charlotte to Asheville or
Yeah.
something like that, it would be right on the way.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
always a beautiful drive, and today was no exception.
Well, thanks a lot. And Tinsley Ellis and the new album, Naked Truth, and appreciate you picking songs today and playing some for us in here. That was just a little extra.
I enjoy that very much.
All right. Thank you. Tinsley Ellis here in Studio A, in the Air Studio. I keep wanting to say Studio B here on WNCW. I'll tell you what, let's play the last song that Tinsley pulled for us today, Lee Dorsey's Riverboat on NCW.